What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Kamen Rider Build episode 34. This episode is called The Severing Best Match, and this episode overall was pretty darn good. If you're wondering, if you hear a little chirping sound, it's because there's a bird outside, just to mention that I'm saying that right now. But anyway, this episode was really something else. As far as the plot point goes, I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, as soon as I heard what the plot point was, and like the whole big point for this episode, it totally made sense. It's something that I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be a little different. I'll explain what I mean by that when I get to it. So anyway, the episode starts with us seeing a continuation of the previous episode, like most episodes start, with us seeing in this case that, the Prime Minister had died. Gentaku is holding on to his father. In the meantime, Sento, Ryoga, and Kazumi end up coming out and transforming and seeing the Prime Minister has been killed. At that point, they all try to fight evil, but what ends up happening is that it doesn't go over so well, and they lose the battle. So then, at that point, what does end up happening is that we end up seeing that Sento is actually poisoned. He's actually poisoned with an extraterrestrial poison that's made by evil, and this poison basically could kill him in 3 days. That's the whole point here. So the thing is that evil uses this to his advantage. He takes advantage of the situation by having this poison available to him that only can be cured by him, meaning that no one else but him can cure it. It's not a typical poison because it's extraterrestrial. So what does end up happening is that from here, Sento does have to go to a hospital where he is trying to be treated, but nothing is working. At the same time, what we do end up finding out is that Ryoga is contacted by evil or Soichi, I'm just going to go Soichi because it's just easier right now, to come and meet and bring Mizora. So that's kind of interesting to remember. He does want to see Mizora. Now, it is unclear as to whether or not that the exact reasoning. It could be because of Vernage. It could just be in general that he wants to meet both of them. But what does end up happening is that from here, the two of them have to go to the base. The whole idea that is brought up when they go there is the idea that in order to cure Sento, he wants a trade to occur, and this trade will be handing over the Pandora's box, which is expected, as well as the Totoro bottles. So that's another thing that's very interesting to keep in mind. He wants both of those things. It makes a lot of sense because he wants the full power of the Pandora's box, and since Totoro still has their bottles separate, that's a very important detail. So what does end up happening is that he mentions if he wants Sento to be healed, that's the only way it's going to work. And at the same time, Mizora gets really annoyed and gets really upset over the fact that, why is evil taking over her father? And she tries to go up to him, and suddenly Vernage comes out slightly, although it's clear that Vernage is barely holding on. Like, her personality and everything and her powers are basically gone. In other words, she can't even heal Sento if she wanted to. And that's a very important detail, that her powers are basically diminishing significantly to the point that she can't do anything. Now, what I would imagine, and I've said this before, and I think this makes sense, is that most likely when they do manage to get the Pandora's box and use it to its full potential, they'll somehow be able to bring back Vernage's full strength. That's what I would expect. I don't know anything for a fact, but I think that could happen at some point, and then Vernage might overwhelm evil, and there might be some major battle that will occur. Hard to say for sure, but that's something that I'm kind of suspecting. Again, it could turn out that Vernage just gets completely destroyed at one point, or she just gets completely diminished, but it's hard to say with absolute certainty until we actually have clarification as to whether or not it's even going to happen. So what does end up happening from here is that after all that occurs, and Mizora is knocked back and everything, they end up having no choice but to head to the location of the Pandora's box. They head there. The thing is that the Totoro bottles will come shortly afterwards, what we end up seeing is that there's a ambulance that has Sento in it, and it also has the cultural bottles. The thing is that what's told him is that we have cultural bottles. With Evil is told they have the cultural bottles, and they also have the Pandora's box. The thing is that he has, I'll give you the cultural bottles if you cure Sento, but instead what actually happens is that Shuichi basically says that in order for me to cure him, you need to beat me in the battle. That's the only way that it will work. Because the poison works in that form. And so what does end up happening is that we end up having to see that. Now, what we also end up discovering is about the truth about Ryoga and Shuichi and Evil, basically. And the whole point is that we learn the real truth, the thing that he's been holding back from doing this entire time. It's very TV, very, very key. And this is the aspect that, we know that Sento is Katsuragi. We know that, he evolved, ended up killing, Sato Taro. He's feeling like crazy. It was a kid that came in and got killed originally, and then his body got swallowed because Katsuragi and the thing is that we also know is that on that day, the reason why Katsuragi's memories were lost wasn't because he wanted him to not join Fox. That's something that's very important. He wanted him to stay part of Fox originally, but the reason why his memories were wiped was because of the fact that he ended up discovering the truth about Ryoga and also about Shuichi, which is the fact that they are both aliens and they are one and the same person. In fact, yes, so they're both evil. They're both evil, they're both part of the same being originally, and yet they were separated somehow. Now, I'm not really sure how that exactly works. Again, there was the whole Martian incident and all that, and then the mom got pregnant and had Ryoga and everything. But the thing is that I'm curious as to how the two separated and why the two separated in the first place. That's something that's not really mentioned, because we do see in the episode where it shows how his mom ended up becoming impregnated by this Martian alien, that there's like a small sample substance or whatever that goes into her body. But the thing is that like we don't actually know the whole story about like how that part came, like how that part of him separated from Evil in the first place. We don't really know that whole story, but it is an interesting thing to note. Just bringing it up there because I don't know if they'll ever explain the whole situation as to why they were separated in the first place. It could have just been that someone may have fought him to the point that they tried to remove his more powerful side, which his more powerful side would probably be Ryoga, from his regular side, which is just the side that Shuichi had originally. So what does end up happening from here is that following this, Sento constantly struggles with staying alive. He constantly tries to get up. He has like all these patch marks all over his neck and everything. And in the meantime, after all this is happening, what we do end up seeing is that Ryoga ends up transforming and fighting Evil. When he goes to battle him, Evil does manage to beat him up to the point that he de-transforms while he's in Kamen Rider Cross the Magma form. And what does end up happening is that we learn that, when you de-transform, it's really hard to suddenly get back into that form because you're exerting a lot of energy and power. And the thing is that when he initially uses his Kamen Rider Cross the Magma form, he only reaches a hazard level of 4.7, which is, it's still really powerful. But what does end up happening is that from here he ends up reflecting back to being partners with Sento and being connected with him for all this time. And the thing is that Suichi kind of makes it out like they're partners because they are part of the same body and everything, but in reality it's like he doesn't associate the two that way. You know, he sees Sento as his partner. He hasn't seen Suichi that way because he didn't know that, and he's like believed a certain way for so long that, like, why would he change his perspective just because they may have had similar connections. And after he reminisces and thinks back to all these different memories that he's had with Sento and all the things that have built him up and made him stronger and, you know, made him who he is over time now, and, you know, made him a stronger, better person, and made him a person, really, he finally transforms again, even though he's really not supposed to. And when he does this, he goes back into Kamen Rider Cross Z Magma. He gets super amped up, so powerful. He ends up reaching a hazard level of 5.0, which is insane. And he ends up having this nighttime battle with Evil. And this battle leads to a massive amount of sparks and energy and clashing of life forces and everything that leads into a huge transformation that occurs. And this transformation leads to Ryoga and what do you call it, Suichi combining together. Yes, they become one entity. And the thing is that Ryoga overshadows Suichi, meaning that Ryoga holds the body now, and Suichi's body is unclear. As of now, we have no idea if it's still there, if it's gone. It looks like it's gone, but yes, Evil takes complete control over Ryoga, and now Ryoga is being controlled by Evil. Now that's a very interesting thing to see, and what we do end up seeing from here is that he actually uses his powers to cure Sento before he's about to die, because that almost does happen. But then what ends up happening is that he ends up using the Evil driver, and he ends up taking the form of Kamen Rider Evil Dragon form, which is the dragon form of that. Now, you may be wondering, is there a form for Sento? Like, does Sento have a Kamen Rider Evil Rabbit form? He does. That is something that I believe is completely confirmed, that he will have a rabbit form as well, and that will come in time. We don't know for sure whether or not that means that he'll actually become evil per se, but we'll have to wait and see. Very interested to see this and more. I do like the design of Kamen Rider Evil Dragon. It actually looks pretty cool with like the body of Kamen Rider Evil and then like the headpiece of Dragon. Kind of an interesting match, and I like it. But we'll have to wait and see how that works story-wise. I'm very curious to see how they'll end up becoming re-separated, or how Evil will completely separate at one point, because I'm sure that will happen. It's just a matter of when. And just in general, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I'm liking what I'm seeing with the show. I mean, I like Kamen Rider Bill a lot. I think it's been a really great season. We still have probably about, I don't even know now, 12 to 14 episodes or so. So that's pretty good. There are supposed to be a number of things that are going to be introduced in the near future, such as Kamen Rider Mad Rogue, which should be introduced sometime this month, and also Sento's final form should also be introduced sometime this month. So keep it in mind that those two things should happen. Also, Grease is supposed to get another form at some point late into the season, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that will look like, because we have no idea what it actually is going to look like, but I have heard that he is going to officially get a second form, so that's good. Like, people were worried that he was just going to stay himself, and I'm definitely curious to see what a second form for Grease could look like, because I really like Grease, but he's not really always focused as much as other characters are, because his story, like, it happened, and now it's not like it's done. It's just that, like, the main story for him has, like, ended, because now we're really focused on Ryoga and Evil and all that. So we'll have to wait and see. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to know your guys' opinions about this episode. As far as things go for the next episode, it looks pretty good. We will be seeing Evil Dragon going up against Totoro, and you know, I think it will be a very interesting thing to see, because I'm sure Sento will have to fight him several times over, and I'm just looking forward to seeing where things will go from here, and I'm liking the show a lot. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.